after your poem that you delivered at the 2021 inauguration was banned in a Florida school. What was your reaction when you learned that your poem had been banned?
To be honest, it was a bit like a gut punch. It felt surreal. I had understood that book bans have been happening, but I think this hit me so incredibly hard because not just that it was something I had written, which is besides the point, that it was a moment in history, that if a child at the school wanted to hear words that were spoken on a presidential inauguration for their country, it had kind of been softly restricted in that way. But I think as I started to kind of open my eyes to the broader environment of what's happening now, there are so many book bans happening right now that are very terrifying if you pay attention to what that means for children's right to read and learn and what it means for teachers and libraries. There's been reports of over 10,000 book bans just in the school year alone. That's an over 200% increase from last school year. And so I would say if anyone cares beyond just my own work being banned, it's so important to be awake to what's happening on a local level.
What is the impact of those 10,000 book bans?
Yes.
On children who want to read your poem, on other works?
Yes. I would say it overwhelmingly impacts children from middle class and lower income families who can't afford to just go out and buy every single book that they need when it's been restricted in the places that are supposed to be making sure these resources are accessible and free. It also impacts the representation of the children who need these stories the most. These books that are being banned predominantly feature authors and characters of color, authors and characters of the LGBTQ community. And so we're seeing entire identities erased from bookshelves. And when a child can't see themselves represented in a story, they can't dream of their own life to actualize their own hopes.
If you could talk to that parent who filed that first complaint against your poem that you delivered at the inauguration, what would you say to that parent?
I think first I would have a few questions for them, because if you look at the filing of this complaint against my book, it lists the wrong author. It lists Oprah Winfrey as the author of my book. I am the author of my poem. It highlights issues of like supremacy and fear in my poem. And I would love to hear specifically, where are you seeing that from this inaugural poem of hope? But more specifically, I would ask them what gives them the right as someone who is not the parent of a student at this school, who is not a student or teacher at this school, to essentially ban every student at this school from having easy, reliable access to